Are you guys ready to rock? If you're on YouTube and you can see me in my car window, you know that I am not AI. Let's lock this car door and get this show started. Welcome to Smashinese, the world's first psychology-focused or psychology-centric podcast that is recorded in the streets while walking and doing calisthenics exercises. I'm recording in real time. If you're listening on an audio-only podcast, you probably can hear the birds right now, okay? I am out here walking right now as I'm recording this show. I invite all of you to walk, bike, or march in place with me as you listen. In today's show, I ask, which generation had the smartest 16-year-olds? Wow, that's a loaded title. Today, we'll be stepping into one of the most contentious topics in the parenting space, probably anywhere, right? On planet Earth. It doesn't matter which country you are from or what religion you practice. Because universally, historically, traditionally, on some things, parents and teens just, good morning, do not agree. But let's get in to the specifics. Today's show is mostly about differences between teens and adults on the subject of dating. And every generation says the same thing, just in a different voice. Parents say, well, things are different now. It's more dangerous. That's why you can't do it. Or that's why I don't want you to do it. Teenagers say, Mom, Dad, come on. You're tripping. You just don't understand. And somewhere in the middle is the real question. Should the rules change or stay the same from generation to generation? Yes, I'm winded, guys. I started out with a hill. I hope you're walking with me, even if you're at home. Get up, get your butt up, walk in place, or march, or something. Let's do this. If you are a parent or plan on being a parent someday, do you give your children the same freedoms or the same restrictions that you had as a child? And if you don't let your child do the things that you did, are you protecting your child? Or are you just projecting fear of something happening to them? And when you started becoming interested, right, in the opposite gender, did you feel you should have been permitted to be in charge of your own freedoms, your own self because it was your body, right? Or were you just young and dumb and underestimating the many risks parents know to exist in the world? And of course, you wouldn't have thought that at that time. I'm talking about now in hindsight as an adult. Is this what you think? Let's zoom out for a quick minute because this argument isn't new. And to keep it honest, these differences of opinion, they're not new either. Every generation goes through the same cycle. You're young, you want freedom. You become older, you understand that there are consequences. You become a parent, what do? What do we do as parents? We prioritize protection over everything. We rarely base what we do with our own children on what we were permitted to do or restricted from doing when we were a child. All parents have gone through the same basic things as the children they eventually have. So the generations might change, guys, but the same things happen over and over and over again. It's the same humans, just a different era, a different stage of life, a different time period. And when I say stage of life, because when you were a kid, you felt one way, then as an adult, you feel another. So I'm talking about the same humans that way as well, not just the differences between kids and their parents. But why those two stages are viewed differently when someone becomes older is what we call a perspective shift. And a perspective shift is when your priorities change based on your responsibilities. Notice, I did not say based on your age, and you will see why I didn't bring up age momentarily. When parents say you don't understand yet, they're not always being dismissive. And it does seem that way. It does sound like that. They're simply speaking from a different vantage point. With experience comes wisdom. And if you haven't been exposed to the world, you will absolutely see it differently. Children, kids, teenagers have been exposed to less of the world, so their perception, their point of view is going to differ from mom and dad. If you're new to the podcast, we pause and we take these active breaks from walking, which are really just an opportunity for us to step it up for our heart and our body. And we do push-ups or squats or lunges or jumping jacks or whatever. I owe you guys. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 9, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 9, 70, 71, 2, 73, 74, 75. The lighter vest makes a huge difference. Jeez. Okay. Make sure you pause. If you don't have it in you, or you did too many body weight exercises yesterday, that's fine. Maybe just do some high knees or something. Okay? We elevate our heart rate. We work on these muscles. All right? Which do tend to diminish as we age, and we get right back to walking. All right? Now, where were we? If I have any parents walking with me today, when you flip the script and not let your kids do the things that you were allowed to do, or the things you wanted to do as a kid, or the things you were not supposed to do, but you turned on sneak mode and you did what you wanted anyway, are you changing the rules for your kids based on your wisdom and experience? Or are you restricting your kids based on emotion? And I'm asking it this way. I might pause more than usual today, guys. I'm at a beautiful park, but there's tons of geese and their droppings are everywhere. I'm asking in this way because many teenagers believe that parents change the rules just because they can. As a child, I used to want to be grown up because I thought that's what adults were doing. There was no rhyme or reason for what they were doing. They said what they said because they were the grown-up, and we didn't have a say. We couldn't say no. Well, maybe we could, but in my situation, I couldn't say no without physical consequences. And I like being able to see out of both eyes. All right? And here's another thing I want to explore today, because this is definitely part of the argument that I hear a lot of parents say from generation to generation. Let's explore, were things safer back in your day? If you're a parent and you have kids. So think about when you were 15 years old, 16 years old, 17, 18 years old. Was the world a safer place, at least in your environment, where you lived or where you grew up? Okay, for myself, I was able to stay out and play all day. And when I say all day, I mean eat some cereal, brush your teeth, get dressed, gone. Okay? I was able to play all day without checking in or anything. My friends and I, we went back home. If we had to use the bathroom really bad, or we were hungry, or whatever our curfew was, right? We were supposed to be back home or within earshot by the time it started getting dark. Then that's what we did. No worries ever. I wasn't given any warnings except for what we learned in school and what we're taught as children. Like, no strangers, don't get in anybody's car, don't get in trouble, don't come back here with the police, no fighting, blah, 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 right? But in 2026, which is when I'm recording this, depending on where you live, you barely see kids outside anymore. Now, I will see kids, but they're in front of their homes, okay? They're not far. I see parents sitting outside on their phone, on their devices, or whatever, while the kids are playing, so they could watch them. I do not recall anybody watching any of us, all right, when I was young, unless we went to something and the parents were going to be there anyway. It was some type of event. So I'm asking each of you, is the world more dangerous now? Or does it just feel that way to adults because we know more about the world, right? So again, it's perspective. Do we feel it's more dangerous because we know more now? Or is it the same? And let's keep it real. There are two realities out here, okay? The first is, in many places, certain types of crime have decreased over time, right? But although crime may have decreased in certain places, exposure to risk has increased. And what I mean by that is teenagers today deal with social media, location sharing, online strangers, right? That's a whole different type of stranger. Most of them, most kids, teenagers especially, maybe not kids, preteens, most of them have a digital reputation that they're concerned about. There's a risk element in that as well. And when I was a kid, my family couldn't afford any form of instant communication. But today, in 2026, 2027, beyond, whenever you're listening to this, most children, teenagers anyway, have their own cell phones. They have their own cell phones. They don't even understand a world where there is no instant communication. But maybe, parents just might have it wrong now, maybe. And it's not that the world is more dangerous, it's that risk looks different now. Does that make sense to you guys? So, have the risks always been there? But when you're a child, those risks are either silly or they're just not that serious. There's something that your parents are just tripping about, right? And risks don't become scary until you view them with a parent's, what's a good word? I was going to say from a parent's perspective or a parent's viewpoint, but we need to use terms that even my graduate and undergraduate and my psychology students that are listening, what's up, guys? What's a good word? Come on, help me out, students. Sensibility. Risk don't become scary until you view them with a parent's sensibility. Now, we've all been kids, and most of us have wondered, what in the world are parents really afraid of? Like, when parents set rules like curfews and no dating and no sleepovers after a certain age, or maybe they are just strict as crap and want to supervise every part of a child's life. Are they really just saying, well, you're a child, right? You don't understand. I want to protect you from the consequences that I understand. Because this is something that we hear, good morning, from our parents, right? They want to protect us from the consequences that they know of. They want to protect us from the new dangers in the world. And we just listed them. So they're not making that part up, okay? And sometimes, right, we know that parents have made mistakes when they were kids and just want to protect their children from the mistakes they made themselves. This is what is called the protective instinct. We'll get into that as soon as I give you guys some more push-ups, as I show you a little bit of the view from this park today. Once again, you don't have to do as many, okay? But do something, everyone, okay? If you're at home, you can modify the push-ups, all right? So you're watching me, you can modify. Go in the kitchen counter. You don't have to be on the floor, all right? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. I'm keeping it honest. That's 150 push-ups. So and then you get right back to it. If you need to hydrate, go ahead and hydrate, but don't stop walking, okay? Where were we? Where were protective instinct, okay? Protective instinct. Let me define this clearly, all right? Protective instinct is the drive to prevent harm, even at the cost of taking someone's freedoms away from them. So when a parent does this, guys, they're not being cruel, okay? It's a protective instinct, all right? So maybe, I'm saying parents can't help it, but y'all let me know, all right? Let's keep it really real. Most teens are not trying to hear nothing about this thing called protective instinct. You are so right, Coach Sumo. So, what are teens really pushing for? And when I'm answering this, I'm not challenging or judging any one of your parenting styles, because what you do with your children is your business. I understand that. I am just giving a child's perspective, to be thorough in our discussion and to be fair. If you're on YouTube, you can probably see the guy in front of me. He has a vest on similar to mine. He was jogging. I'm about to hit a huge hill. I heard him moaning. I was wondering if he was going to run up the hill or not, and he opted to walk, and that's okay. I'm just observing because I'm out here. Modify. If you need to modify. The point is to be safe and still get done what it is. Good morning. That you need to get done. All right? So, when teens push back, parents, the protective instinct, parents, we need to see it from both sides. When teenagers push back, they're not necessarily being reckless. In a way, they're asking to be trusted. They're asking to explore, right? And this is a natural thing as we grow up. It's a natural thing to happen. It's part of development. Believe it or not, they're asking you for permission to learn the world, okay? They hear parents use phrases like, that's my big boy and my big girl, and you're not a baby anymore, and you're almost grown now. And they then want to take a shot at making their own decisions. When we just say they're being reckless, the assumption is that they're asking you to go on that first date because they know it's a bad thing. That is not why they're doing it. So you have to look at it from both sides. Good morning. Logan. Maybe they just want to take a shot at making their own decisions. And if it's natural, it's not automatically reckless. So whatever, I said I wouldn't take a side, but I do want to bring that up because a lot of parents don't think about it that way. Because developmentally, right? And we're going to talk about that because this is a psychology podcast, right? We're going to talk about that. Well, I know some of you guys are like, this ain't psychology. He trying to get us to walk forever. Okay, it's a little bit of that as well. But developmentally, independence is a fundamental part of growth. Let me repeat that. Independence is a fundamental part of growth, okay? Some of you may understand this as autonomy, okay? And autonomy is just another word for it, okay? Autonomy, for those who may not have heard the word before, is just the ability to make your own decisions. Nothing more, nothing less, all right? So, to my strict parents walking today, are your rules for your kids about safety or about control? Are you setting the rules that you have for your children genuinely because you're concerned about their safety? Or is it more like, I've attained this level, okay, and now I am the boss, so do as I say, not as I do? Is it a control thing? And if you didn't have the same rules that you're putting on your kids today or in the future, that's what I mean by today, should the rules change from generation to generation? All right? This is all I meant by partly what I meant by the title today, okay? Because here's the real conversation. Should a 16-year-old today have the same dating rules as a 16-year-old in 1986? As a 16-year-old in 1996? This is a serious question. What about 20 years ago in 2006? What about a decade ago, right? In 2016? Or should rules evolve with technology? Should rules evolve with culture? And the environment that the child grows up in? Because here's the friction. Here's the tension, right? Some risks have decreased. Now, full transparency, as I researched for this episode, this is what I found. Good morning.
Morning.
So this is why I'm conveying it to you guys, okay? But I'm only saying some risks have decreased because my research says that. All right, that's what I learned when researching this topic for this show. But I 100%, 1,000%, 1,000,000% disagree that there are any risks for kids that have decreased in 2026. If you guys can set me straight, please reach out to me and give me some examples, because a lot of times when you read these white papers and these studies and you get summaries for these books, all right, they say things, but they're not really good at giving examples. I don't agree with it, all right? But common sense, okay? And
She's 4.5. Okay. She'll be 5 in October.
my research shows us that some risks have increased, but we know that. I didn't have to research that, right? I know. And of course, some risks didn't even exist when some of us were kids. Like if you have been around longer than social media and longer than cell phones and all of that good stuff. Okay? So, maybe the question isn't same rules or new rules. Maybe it's what are the right rules for the time period I currently live in and for where I live, right? That goes back to environment. And now, let's talk about the hormone factor, the big H in the room. I know y'all hear my breathing. These hills in this park are brutal, but I love the challenge. Okay, hormones. We gotta talk about those hormones, guys, because not only is this the part most parents do not want to admit affected how they viewed the world as teenagers, but many parents just don't want to even think of their sons and daughters even having hormones. And I don't know who's with me today that is a parent, but you bring up hormones to parents. It was cool when we were kids, right? But they don't want to hear that when talking about their sons and daughters. But to all my parents listening, you and I were once 16. We were once 17. We were once 18. And during that time, hormones were in charge of our brains. Hormones were in charge of our decisions, whether we want to believe that or admit that or not. That is the time in your life where the hormones are working the absolute hardest. So, when parents say, you're not ready, teens think, well, you weren't ready either, but you said you did it. You said you got mad at your mom. You said you got mad at your dad. And I'm not espousing any violence here, guys, but before you punch them into another zip code, think about it. They actually are not wrong. Most adults didn't follow or agree with every rule they were given when they were kids. Just keeping it real. Okay? That's all. A little bit of realness. Never hurt anybody. But now, they do understand why the rules existed. Remember that word I said earlier? Hindsight? Yeah. It's 2020. People, hindsight is 2020. And now that I know I predominantly have an adult audience today on this podcast, let me ask you this. If you could go back to being 16 years old, would you want stricter rules or just better guidance from your parents? Didn't know he was going to ask that question. And remember what some call the pastor's child effect, right? Strict rules alone don't always work, because when rules feel controlling or when rules feel straight up disconnected from reality, right? They often lead to secrecy. Remember that? Who remembers keeping secrets and hiding things from their parents? IJS. I'm sorry. IJS. But as parents, we need to now realize that secrecy is where real risk increases. So, is there a better approach? How about instead of saying, no, you can't do that because I said so, maybe you could try, here's what I'm concerned about. Let's sit down and talk about it. And let's be real. There are still things to worry about in this world. So giving a child total freedom, okay? Total freedom. That might really just be a form of endangerment, okay? Child neglect. child, ABUSE. I have to spell it because I also post the podcast on YouTube, guys. I apologize for that very elementary moment. It is just a word, and it is not an inappropriate word. But it could be a sign of poor parenting, right? So instead of total freedom, let's say we try what Coach Sumo calls guided freedom. And what in the world? I know you guys can hear those geese. I hope you can still hear me. What in the world is guided freedom? Guided freedom is independence with awareness and communication. Yeah, I like that. But as your coach, right? As your coach, your walking buddy, and as your psychology professor, right? Can I come up with a fitness analogy that makes sense in the world of psychology, in the field of psychology? Let's see. Let's say I'm training someone new, right? Let's say I have a new client. I don't give them zero weight to lift because with no resistance, there is no growth, right? No resistance, no growth. I also don't give them all the weights in the gym to lift. I don't give them the stack of weights that Brutus was lifting. And Brutus is the biggest guy in the gym. Because this excessive amount of weight greatly increases the risk of injury. So what do? As a responsible, intelligent professional, I give them progressive resistance, which just means I give them a little bit at a time. Good morning. I give them a little bit at a time, right? And I adjust when they've shown me they can handle what they are currently managing. Not until, okay? When this weight becomes easy, let's put a little bit more on there. But just a tiny bit, all right? And I think that's an excellent analogy because this is the same thing that I'm talking about as it relates to our topic today. So, despite my title, this show isn't really about which generation had the smartest teens. It's about which generation can create the smartest conversations. Because the real goal isn't control or even freedom. The real goal is preparation. Okay? Good morning. So, if you're a parent or you plan to be someday, ask yourself, do I want to raise my child to follow rules? Or do I want my child to make good decisions when I'm not there? And y'all know how I typically close out the show. Some of you can probably say it with me. Because at the end of the day, every generation thinks we had it right. Grandma was wrong. Great-granddad was wrong. My kids are wrong. We had it right. But growth doesn't come from repeating the past. It comes from understanding it. So whether you're a parent or a young adult or a teenager who is just starting to date, and I keep this, yes, the podcast and the show has a certain theme, but it's still appropriate, okay, for that age group, for that demographic. But it doesn't matter. You're the parent. You're a teenager, young adult, someone in college. You're just starting to get out there, just starting to find yourself, starting to explore, right? The question isn't who was smarter between the generations. It's who is willing to learn from both sides. And I want you to think about that in a very serious way, because that narrative should be redundant. And if you're an undergrad student or a graduate student and you're studying, good morning, for the purpose of having your own practice or being a therapist or a marriage counselor or a sex therapist, whatever, okay, it's still about balance. It's still about give and take. What did I just say? It's not about who's smarter, which is really an argument about who's right and who's wrong, okay? Because I could have just said it that way. It's about who is willing to learn from both sides. Times do change. We know that. So there are consequences to being too rigid, okay? And again, it's none of my business. You do what you do with your own children. But the give and take, the communication aspect, one side being open to listening to the other side and vice versa, okay? It is so necessary. So, if you follow me on YouTube, hop into the comments. Let me know how this episode hit you, okay? I appreciate every single one of you. I am only in the 4th week of this podcast, but downloads are happening. Views are happening slowly but surely. I need you guys' help to get the word out. And I have some great things planned for the community. My approach is totally, totally different. So don't forget, as you're watching, as you're listening, to look out for things that I'm adding for the community. Okay? It's not just about me preaching, teaching, and walking. But I am on this walking thing a lot. Yeah, I'll be a little bit aggressive with this walking stuff. And these calisthenics, these bodyweight exercises, because they're important and because I need it myself. So let me thank you as well for that, because seeing downloads and seeing engagement on YouTube from you guys, it lets me know I have to go out, prepare a show, and do this all over again the next day. And I love it. Okay, with that said, I'm going to wrap for the day. And you've been listening to Speaking Smashinese. I'm your host, Coach Sumo. Oh, let me throw in real quick. If you're in the DMV, that's DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and you'd like to be interviewed, you'd like to actually come out with me somewhere and walk and be interviewed live and do calisthenics with me, all right, so you can be in the show, hit me up. Let me know, and we'll see if we can coordinate something, all right? Just please be able to comfortably walk at least an hour, all right? 45 minutes to an hour. Well, you know what? For the interviews, maybe not. Let's say 30 minutes, okay? Because I'm going to make the interview shorter. I don't want anybody passing out while they're walking with me and doing all these push-ups. But, again, thanks, guys. I will walk with all of you in the next episode. Ciao.